Okay, so last week overall was positive. We got a little bit over half back on the races, but we did well on the football, getting back a good multi. So let's dive into a very special Father's Day edition of Odds the Betting Podcast.
Done our dough, chaps. We've done our dough.
So in this episode, it's a special Father's Day edition. So a lot of us, the first time we went to the races, we were probably taken by our dads. So special guest today, my dad, Martin Jusek. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Al, for having us on the podcast today. I'm very thrilled, and I hope the listeners are very excited as well too.
Well, you've always been told that you've got a great voice for radio, so I guess this is sort of the acid test, or, this is your first foray into broadcasting, and it's come perhaps a bit later than what everyone may have expected, but I'm glad that the time has come.
Well, eventually, I don't know really much about podcasts at all. I've never seen one or heard one, and now I'm on one, so it's all very exciting. And you did say before that most young people might be taken to the races by their father. Well, going back many, many years, I was taken to the races for the first time by my grandmother. And I think it was at Caulfield, and the very first bet I had was on Swift and Sure at 25 to 1. And back in those days, you couldn't even, well, you could bet 50 cents, but if you wanted to, you could have a half each way, which was 25 cents each way. And that's what she put on the horse for me, because she obviously thought it had absolutely no chance of winning. And it did win, so that was my start foray into gambling, betting, and I've enjoyed and loved it ever since. I've never taken it overly seriously, where I lose and do the ultimate no-no of trying to win your money back. I've just had it as an entertainment and a bit of fun, and there's been a lot of stories along the way.
That's very wholesome and positive, I'd have to say. Well, you had a very good start. Beginner's luck, or just an omen of things to come?
I've always suffered from beginner's luck, and I can't recall all the other occasions, but it has sort of been with me throughout my life, having beginner's luck. Maybe in business, I've been lucky, and that was a good start to my fun and betting on the races. Was Swift and Sure at 25 to 1. It was great.
That's very good. I can't remember the first horse that I won on. My favourite horse from back in those days was Flavor, and I have some very good memories of winning on. It wasn't Melbourne Cup Day. It was what is now sort of Emirates Stakes Day, but has again changed to something else. That race, the McKinnon Stakes that they shuffled around. I think it's that race day now, but it used to be whatever it was called before Emirates Stakes Day, and Flavor won on that day down the straight and paid somewhere between 10 and 20. That was a good memory, but it certainly wasn't the first. It could have been at Mornington, could have been something there.
I remember taking it down to Mornington with my daughter Annika and maybe your cousin Ryan, and they were doing the Macarena. Is it the Macarena?
The Macarena. It was big at the time.
The Macarena was going on, and you were betting on something, and I can't remember what it was, but weather was good. It was a great picnic atmosphere, and it was a lot of fun.
That's excellent. So you've got some race books. So you're going to take us down memory lane with a few things here. What significance do these have?
Well, I started probably taking an interest in races after Swift and Sure, and I was probably around about 12 when that happened. And then that went into 13 and 14, but probably my favourite race years were around about 76 and 77. And I've brought a few race books in that I've managed to hold on to over the years, and this is the Victoria Derby from 1976.
Do you want to hold that up to the camera?
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, what do the blue pages signify?
Well, that signifies the actual Derby race itself, and how things have changed. The Derby, to keep punters at the track, like all of the big races, they put them to race 9 or 10, so people stay there and they don't leave and they keep on drinking and betting and what have you. Back in the day of 76, the 30th of October, Victoria Derby, race 4. So they're getting the big race out of the way early.
Wow, race 4. What time is that there for?
That's at 3 o'clock. Okay. And it was a really good race. And Unaware won, which was a Colin Hayes thing. And then Family of Man ran third, and ran Salamander ran second. It was a very tight finish, and it was a great race. I can't say that I bet on any of those. I bet on number 2, Chasta Bellotta, which I think it's a Smith thing. I thought it might have been Cummings. It had Johnny Letts riding it, so that was no good. But a very good and fun race day that was. I've also brought along a couple of Memsie stake meeting books. One's going back to 77 and another's 1985. Yet again, the big race of the day, the Memsie's in race 4. And yet again, Family of Man, I've had $10 on that for the win at even money.
Wow. So was that the following year to the previous one?
The Derby was 76. This is 77 at Caulfield, the Memsie. So the following year.
So Family Man's progressed from a 3-year-old in the Derby in 76 to now be in the Memsie.
Yes, even money in the Memsie's run second. I don't know what margin Wave King has beaten him by, and then Unaware of all things has run third. So they're sort of keeping sort of the same positions, seconds and firsts and things. They're all good horses. Stain Vita in race 6. Now that's run second in the Whittier handicap. Rolick has run first, which I do believe held the track record at Sandown for about 55 seconds for 1,200 metres for many, many, many years. And that's running in this race at 1. And I bet on Stain Vita, which I think later on poor old Stain Vita running at Caulfield put his foot in a hole and unfortunately fell over. It was the end of him.
Terrible. That
was nasty. And then there's another Memsie here. This is going forward around about 10 years to 1988. And I've had $60 the win on Campaign King, which was a great horse camp.
$60 the win.
Now, I would never do that now because cost of living, I just can't afford it. But back then, I think I was doing okay business-wise, and $60 the win, and it hasn't even run a play sale.
Gee, isn't it funny that whenever you really go big on something, it's when they don't run anywhere. I'm sure that's happened to me. The bigger bets have been on these meaningless favourites that I've just jumped on, whereas something that I actually probably really believed in, or was an outsider that I didn't think I wanted to have a lot of money on, has actually won. And I remember that on a Caulfield Cup Day, just betting on some horse in the first race that I'd found from a tipping service and having sort of like $30 on it, which I would never do, and it ran nowhere. When the horse that I'd actually picked won, it's just those times.
How gut-wrenching is that?
Awful.
It is awful. The winner of that particular Memsie was Rancho Ruler at 2-1, ridden by Darren Gauci.
Love the Gouch.
And he won, and My Steely Dan ran second and Fair Sir third, and Campaign King nowhere, $60 down the gurgler on that.
So what would have that been comparable to? $200?
Oh, I think so, at least.
At least, probably, yeah.
It's just ridiculous. So that was race 5 in Melbourne. So we're progressing forward a bit in race numbers. I don't know. I think the Memsie Saturday is race 9. So yet again, they're wanting people to stay on the track for as long as possible.
Yes, keep them entertained, keep them there.
The other thing, I've got some books here. That's Caulfield, the 17th of August. I don't know what the main meeting at this one was here, but I just wanted to bring up the fact of they've got a page dedicated to betting on VFL football.
VFL football, there we go.
Now, I mean, the agencies, you can bet on the US election, you can bet on what colour hat the Queen's going to wear at the Ascot or anything, and back in the day, patrons may bet, footy quad or footy double at today's meeting at TAB windows at the end of Paddock A, Tote.
End of Paddock A, wow, what a different time it was.
End of Paddock A, Tote, nearest the glass house. Footy bets must be marked on TAB betting cards available outside the TAB windows.
Yes, collect your pencils and just, tick those boxes.
These windows are clearly marked footy betting. Betting on VFL football is offered as a service to VATC patrons, but the club regrets it has not been possible to open the footy bet window in the Guineas Reserve.
Wow.
The Guineas Reserve is the sort of cheap area that no one really wants to go to. Betting on today's games closed at 2 p.m. Dividends for today's games will not be declared until approximately 5:20 p.m. The TAB windows will remain open for the payment of footy bets for 10 minutes after the declaration of dividends, or tickets may be collected at any TAB agency for the next week. So there you are. That's the start of footy betting in Australia or Melbourne or something, I suppose. I thought it was interesting.
And now it's all done in microseconds, and you can bet with mates, and you can put, say, multis on, and there's no more of the, what do they call it back in the day? It was sort of like conflicting betting or something like that, where you couldn't multiply legs, and now it's just the done thing for anyone.
How things have changed. I mean, back then you had no mobile phones, of course. You had the odd television, possibly in black and white, dotted around the course. One of my favourite memories was at the races at Flemington, and one of the preliminary finals was on, I think it was Collingwood and Fitzroy, and it was getting in the last quarter, or the start of the last quarter, and every 5 minutes over the public address they would announce what the scores were, and everyone would stop, listen, and it was a very high-scoring game. It was something like Collingwood 22-21, Fitzroy 19-18, and then all these announcements kept on coming through, and it was really interesting and exciting to listen to those messages coming through. I can't remember what race meeting it was. It had been late-ish September.
And who ended up winning?
Collingwood.
I would expect so, yes.
Craig Davis, I think, went berserk, and he is such a good footballer. He maybe sort of won it for them. Bernie Quinlan for Fitzroy was doing really well. And it was just one of those things that I remember fondly and vividly out at Flemington, listening to those broadcasts over the public broadcast system.
Very cool. I remember probably the late 90s when scores would flash up on the screen, and it would sort of be like Q 14 goals 9 versus JFL or something, and you had to buy the footy record to know what code each team was, so you could follow along with the scores. It's just everyone knows.
And the other thing, of course, when you'd go out to Windy Hill and you'd be having a bet on the races, and on the scoreboard they would put up race 3, and then they would put the numbers in the frames, first, second and third, and that was always exciting to see what numbers went into the frame. And sometimes it was number 16, and you think, what in the hell would have that been? And it was another memorable time of football and racing combining together, and great fun and excitement.
So that was a big screen that had all the boxes, and it would flash up?
That was the footy screen at Windy Hill or Waverley Park, wherever it was, or the MCG, and that would have the scores of the footy on it, and then it would have the race results coming up on the screen as well. That was a lot of fun. One other thing I wanted to mention, I think we were going out to Caulfield. It could have been that particular time we went out and saw Swift and Shaw win, but I remember we were going along the tram, along whichever road it was, Glen Eyre or one of those roads going to the ground, and my grandmother realised that she'd forgot to bring her gloves along, and she was so disappointed and in a state, because ladies always wore their gloves to the races, and this was a big thing, and I remember it vividly how upset she was that she'd forgotten and left them at home.
The social shame, the fashion faux pas of not being gloved.
That is it. So that's another little aspect of what was happening at the races.
Well, I'm quite interested that obviously it was a different time, but we're seeing a lot of cigarette advertising in this day and age. Marlboro's all over everything, right on the back page. I think, is that Peter Jackson or Peter Stuyvesant on the back of your one?
This is Peter Jackson, the man who founded Sydney, and they were a very common packet of cigarettes at school when I was at Brighton High in 1970s.
How times have changed. I thought it might have been Peter Jackson, the suits, but no, that's all what the advertising was back in those days.
And funnily enough, you mentioned cigarettes and advertising and that sort of thing. On this Derby Day program back in 1976, they had, which was one of the biggest sprint races, probably next to the Newmarket Handicap, was the Cravenay Stakes.
And that was a cigarette brand?
Oh, yeah, the Cravenay were big time. We used to love a Cravenay every now and again, Al.
Well, we're different times.
Yeah, maybe Mahal. What a wonderful horse that was. And Vivace. Wow.
So getting back to the first Derby you mentioned in 75 was Salamander and Family of Man, and was it Assure winning? Did these horses go on to do things, or were these sort of like the Derby winners that get forgotten about, like a Kibbutz where, it wins a Derby and then you never see it again? Or
No, I think this was 1976 Victoria Derby. The track was fast. I've got written on the thing here. It was a beautiful day, if I recall. The book cost 30 cents.
Wow, value.
It was Victoria Racing Club Melbourne Cup Carnival, the Derby. And I mean, Unaware,
that's it.
Won the Derby. Family of Man was in there. Opposition, Ashbar, and Salamander. Not everyday horses that you would think about, but certainly Unaware and Family of Man were very good.
They went on to other things, or they won more races down the track, more Group 1s, or not really, perhaps?
I think...
Family of Man's very well known.
Yeah, it is. I think I remember Family of Man, I think, winning at Moonee Valley one time, first up from a spell at around about 10-1, and that's something I remember quite vividly. I mentioned there was a midweek race at Sandown that I was talking about. It wasn't Sandown, it was Tuesday next, midweek racing at Caulfield.
Midweek at Caulfield, that's quite an interesting proposition.
Yes, sometimes they had that, was it the 1,000 Guineas race at Caulfield, but they've changed it all around now. But anyway, this was Tuesday next, midweek racing at Caulfield. Closed circuit colour TV.
Closed circuit colour television. Well, you'd have to, market that back in those days.
Yeah, that was pretty big.
Yeah, maybe hold that up for a little bit longer to the camera.
Monitors throughout the enclosure. How good is that? Free parking. VRC and MVRC members' badges may be used for admission to the members' car park and members' enclosure at the meeting. Notice to VATC members. Members are advised that club ties, in brackets $4 each, are available at the members' cloakroom. Now, is that because you have to wear a tie into the members? And if you've forgotten your members' tie, then you can buy one for $4?
And it's another profit stream? Is that what I'm sensing?
That's what I'm sensing. And then in this other one in 1988, virtually 10 years later, the price of the tie doubles virtually to $7, I've noticed. So
doubles in how many years?
In 12 years.
Okay.
Virtually doubles. So that's... Racing was much bigger and, no pokies in Melbourne, no betting on football and everything else. It was certainly a social thing and a betting thing and an entertainment thing. So, I don't think even back there you virtually had one of those VCR video machines.
No movies on... home movies on VCR.
No watching Arnold Schwarzenegger and just popping the cassette into the things. So different era, but today there's so much going on, and the mobile phones. It's so easy and so much fun, and the multis of all sorts. It's just there's just no end to it all. I still buy the Winning Post this time of the year, and I used to get it on a Thursday, but now it doesn't come out until the Friday. And, of course, the best thing anyone can ever do is get the Winning Post, which includes the yearly calendar in it at around about the start of August, end of July, and it's just such a wonderful calendar, the Winning Post calendar. Of course, we've got it in the toilet there, and it's just absolutely tremendous.
And why is it so good?
because it's every day it shows you all the races that are on around the country, and they highlight the big meetings, and it's just something I couldn't do without.
That's a good thing to know. And when does it come out?
End of July, start of August, just before the horses all have their birthday, which I think is the 1st of August.
Yeah, which would be the start of the racing season.
So that's a must. Black Knight at Caulfield. Now, did that go on and win a Melbourne Cup?
In the early 70s, there was some sort of knight that won. It was a black knight or a gold knight or a silver knight or something of that.
Something like that, yeah.
I do remember that. There's a street named after one of those down in the old Epsom racecourse allotment.
Yeah, I was looking at the races on the telly, and they were doing a Memsie special of previous past winners, and Mackay Diva came rocketing down the outside and won Memsie, and of course that went on to win three Melbourne Cups, and that was first up. So it's partially the reason I think I'll be going Mr. Brightside on Saturday, because that's first up. It's a really good quality horse, and I reckon it'll win.
Yes, well, good you mentioned that, because we'll transition from yesteryear to this Saturday, the 30th? No, the 29th, 31st of August. And yeah, I guess we'll do a quick recap of last week.
Yeah.
So looking at where we finished up, we got about $30 back from the 50 that was outlaid. It wasn't really a banner. I thought it had the makings of a really good day at Moonee Valley. I have liked it a bit more lately. Lordship did nothing in the first race. Ruta Royale did nothing in the second race. I thought that really would benefit from that hot speed, but as it progressed, I sort of realised that it wasn't really a day for me. Skipjack was nowhere. Evaporate was good. I sort of had a feeling that might be a horse that would improve, so we got a win and place back off of that. Manolo Bling was a place getter. Forever in Time didn't run anywhere. Rise to It was scratched, got money back there. Name Dropper was close, fourth. We almost got a place dividend and a bonus bet back there. Tried the luck on a few outsiders, Matthew Flinders, Rick's Cafe, nothing. Jenny Lala and Young Werter were both scratched, making that race quite not really an interesting affair after that. Bold Bastille ran fourth, again missed out on the bonus bets. And then in Sydney, Well Timed was a winner as a favourite. Herb was a close-up fourth at 15-1. Peace Officer was a good second. Elias won. Manal placed. Jolly Star was a good winner. And Detonator Jack came nowhere. So in the end, around almost $30 back, $29.47. So we had around about a $20 loss on the races, and we collected $7.50 in bonus bets to use this week. On the football, Richmond just covered the margin with the 30.5 point margin. They got beaten by 28, so that was fortunate that the Tigers could just cling on to that. Sydney were effortless winners at $1.33, and then Carlton, even though it looked a little bit dangerous towards the at some points in the match, they covered that 20-point line easily. So the $20 multi netted 45. So for the day, it was a $4.74 for profit. So overall, getting back to where we are for the year, we've outlaid $500 on the racing and got back $675.89.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah, it's a 35% return on the racing. And then on the sport, we've outlaid $200 and got back $254.83. So that's a $55 profit for a 27% net
brilliant
profit. So overall, we're running at a tick under 33% profit, and it's all, I think we can fairly say it's all thanks to bonus bets with a little bit of insight, but mostly bonus bets and diversification and patience, and it all comes down to good practices. So that was last week. As mentioned, Memsie Stakes Day Caulfield this week, and then there's obviously no football, so I'm going to make a foray into NRL betting purely because of the promotion of money back if you lose. So considering that I know nothing about it, I've just picked a few things hoping for some luck, and we'll get into that a bit later on. But for the moment, let's dive into Caulfield. So,
yep,
getting into Caulfield race 1. So, a bit of an overview of this one. 1400 metre, 84 grade mares. Noah and Adil, mixed form in Brisbane. Rumbled again, I'd probably like to see it 1,600 metres, probably on a bigger track at Flemington. It is good value, resuming at 20-1. Sassy Boom in its last prep went from winning a Fillies and Mares 64 to winning a Group 2 from one race to the next, which you don't see very often.
Well, that's jolly good.
It has to be a seriously talented horse.
Mm.
Lovazoo has been really reliable in the last few weeks. I've bet on it each week, and it's won, and it's stepping up a lot in grade. Not necessarily in grade today, but just against the caliber of horse, I feel like is a bit different. So I'm not as keen.
And when you say it's been winning, has that been by good margins or just falling in, or?
It hasn't been blowing them away as in running away by 3 lengths, but it's sort of been able to accelerate very quickly, say from 4th position, pounce on the lead and sort of be clinical. So the margins might not be huge, but it's been winning with some sort of authority.
Well, that's good. And sort of on the bend, as it sort of kicked away or anything like that? It's just been on pace and then overrun them?
Yeah, on pace, probably owing to a good ride, and then pounces on the lead.
Yeah, I like Lovazoo, and that's what I've taken, and I'm interested in your thoughts on that because I have put $5 on that for the win.
Oh, that's a good chunk of the 50. So we'll each be betting 50 today, and we'll post the bet sheet at the end, and we can compare and see who does better on this meeting. I've sort of gone away from it. I just think it might. Not that I hope that it wins, and it's a horse I really like. I just think it's coming up against some good opposition, so I'm not as sure. Vivier is a seriously good horse, and it's seeing a much easier class of race that it has been seeing lately. Second up should suit. It hasn't seen this grade for a long time, so it should really relish it. Jenny Pending back to a good track is a really big plus. Those 6 and 6, I think, were on heavy, so the $15 is quite good. And Hazel Baby, I would imagine, is going to struggle in this grade. Though I'm surprised that it's 11 to 1. Maybe I'm just missing something. So that's my little take on it. What would you like to add to this?
Well, not much. I found it sort of difficult to identify anything. I'm with Lovazoo, but I'm not totally enthralled. I think a lot of these races are very, very difficult, and but I've stuck with this because I think it's been winning a few of the recent races.
Well, that's all you can do is make a selection. I'm going to go Vivier each way and also Sassy Boom each way. They are both sort of the two of the favourites. So I'll do one on Sportsbet, one on the tab. And then for a trifecta or Quinello, I'm going to do a sort of a big one. Sassy Boom, Lovazoo. Fire of Etna, I think could go forward at 11 to 1 and be hard to run down. I'm assuming, it's my default position at Caulfield that I'm assuming it'll be some sort of on pace bias. So I'll put Fire of Etna in, and then Street Delight I think will run well at 9s, Vivier at $3, so those 5. And then I do want to sort of have something a little bit isolated on Fire of Etna in case it does run like a placing and run second. So Quinella with that as a roving banker with those other horses I mentioned, or even maybe with the field, and just hope that like if Fire of Etna runs first or second, and you could get something like Noah and a deal that runs with it in the Quinella, or Frumos or something crazy. So I might do that as a bit of with one of the bonus bets.
Sounds good, Al. The Fire of Etna on the sports bet form guide here, it says ready to fire.
Well, we love someone who's got a bit of a wit behind the scenes. So any other bets in race 1?
No. I'm just doing the one bet, and for $5 in every race, and that's all I'm doing. It's rather pedestrian, but that's what I'm doing.
No, that's good and easy to monitor. My betting sheet will look a lot more scattered and with all kinds of crazy exotics.
There's nothing wrong with the shotgun approach.
Exactly, it does. It does tend to be quite diversified, so that can be said. But yeah, as you say, I think they're all really great races. They're all really interesting. There's a lot, and just because there's so many quality horses running and so many first-up horses across the day, it just makes it very tricky. So that's just the way it is.
See if we can get an early start on the day.
So moving on to race 2, 1,400 metres, 78 grade. This one, again, it's a big open field. The open's down in, so number 1, the open is down in grade but up in weight. It's going to carry 62.5, but it will have that 3 kilo claim for Tom Preble. Piaggio first up at 60 to 1 is pretty huge value, I would say.
I rather liked that initially. I was nearly going to take that, but I thought the odds are just too much. It is first up. anything could happen, but please, I'll continue.
Well, I'll have something for it either each way or just for the place. Maybe not in multis, but just because it could do something. El Rocco, I think this is the one, 15 starts for 3 placings on good. Sort of a similar record to Agon, who's had 16 starts on good for 1 placing, which we'll get to later. But El Rocco was a winner for us a few meetings ago, but I think that was really, it was just suited that day, so I'm not really sure about it this time. Lethal Thoughts tends to win and then sort of not perform, and I think that people are just, it's one of those horses that people look at the volatility and go off, but it really shouldn't be 20-1. It's a lot better than that, so that's something you could easily...
Big Tatum Bull riding, Al.
Tatum Bull, yes. He's Beset. The form's been pretty decent, and then last time it sort of got a very winnable race at Echuca and just bolted in by 5 lengths, so that's in really good form. Barrier 15 is a bit of a issue, perhaps, where it's going to sit.
Yeah, I liked that initially as well too, and then I saw the barrier 15 at Caulfield. I just don't know what sort of pattern and bias we're going to be getting, so it sort of threw me a little bit.
Yeah, the form, it's been running behind some good horses, namely Jimmy Star, so that's got something going for it. And it's had a win over Georgie Get Mad, which, was starting favourite in some of those middle distance races recently, so that can't be denied. Regal Pom, I think, offers some really good value. That hasn't been too bad, and it's sort of first starts here in Victoria, and it's been pretty consistent on good tracks. Much more of a place getter than a winner, so the $9 for the place seems quite enticing. It could
100%
bob up in a race like this. Margie's Boy was scratched. That was just of note because it was a heavy track specialist. Vitruvius has never missed a place second up, and that's 125-1.
Fair dinkum.
So that's and it's had 22 starts for 11 placings, and it's had a star witness. So that's something to not forget about. And it's has run well at Caulfield before behind Flash Flood, which is quite a good horse. So that's something to keep an eye on. Carbonados, number 11, a bit like a Carbonaro. Carbonados, super interesting. Won last time out. It has had good form previously, winning at Geelong, and then I think from what I'm seeing here, it was previously racing in France. So that will be interesting from Barrier 16.
Barrier 16, yep.
And then Craig has been a big favourite in a lot of races recently. And here it's sort of coming up against a pretty formidable opposition, but it might actually be some value at 370. Really good gate, 57.5 kilos compared to some others that are carrying 60 or more is good. 4 runs in. It should be really ready to fire. So I've been a bit, when it was starting at $1.90, I wasn't as keen, but at the 370, I'm sort of warming to that a little. And then Cadal down the bottom is probably going to be overlooked a bit. That's had 3 decent runs back in, out of Capitalist, 11 starts, 3 wins and 5 placings. People have probably, if it gets a start, it'll be forgotten about, but that really shouldn't be at 26-1. So I'd expect the Open, Piaggio, Carbonados should all be up there fighting for that lead. And some of those other ones, Power Missile, Flying Valley, I'm not as keen.
Yeah, I'm taking Cadal number 15 because it's been very consistent, having the 11 starts for 8 placings, and I just... odds do have gravitated to the odds of 23-1 at the moment, so I'm happy with that, and that's what I'm doing. Cadal number 15.
So is that $5 for the win? There's no each ways going on?
Everything I'm doing is for the win.
Wow, straight out, bold.
Going for gold, Al.
I like this strategy, and you'll be getting the bonus bets back, no doubt. The second or third promotion with someone for these?
Well, it's all on, should I say Sportsbet?
Yeah, you can say who you've been.
So, look, I don't even know what promotion they're offering. I'd be imagining it'd be money back in bonus bets for second and third, but I haven't researched that, so I'm hoping.
But it will be that or the tap, so you'll be getting second or third back, probably up to race 7, I'm imagining, and then you can use... Sportsbet will give you 2 tokens on a Saturday anyway, so I'm sure like races 8, 9 or 10 you can sort of cover with that and basically get away with most of the races, if not all of them.
Well, I've already put these bets in.
Wow, okay, well that's good. That's you've taken the early odds.
I'm forging ahead early in the piece.
Nice. So I'm going to do a box Quinella and trifectas for Piaggio, Lethal Thoughts, He's Beset, Regal Pom, Vitruvius, Craig.
Wow.
Yes, well, it'll be for a small percentage, but could land something there. Vitruvius for a place, and I think for the each way bets, I'll do He's Beset on with one operator and Craig with the other. Even though there's so much value in this race. I'm sort of loathing to go for favourites, but I do think that Craig and He's Beset will run well, but there'll certainly be something at big odds will be in there or win. Hopefully I'll be on it, but hopefully for your sake it's Cadal.
Well, can't wait for this race to forge ahead, Al, one of us, hopefully.
Hopefully. So race 3, 1800 metres, 78 grade.
Mm-hmm.
This one's, it's not my favourite race of the day, but it's quite interesting. Let's Be Frank, number 1, has been consistent, paying $8 first up. Gold Wolf won here at 40-1, a few starts back.
Could it do the same again?
I'm not expecting it to, but expect the unexpected with these kind of races early in the day. Number 3, Matthew. I just can't take a horse called Matthew seriously, so I've sort of overlooked that a little bit.
Reminds me of Matthew Howies from Carlton.
Yes, he won't be around in a week and a half to play.
No.
Who else have we got? Tycoon Beck, good first up, and has run behind good horses like The Map, Dunkel, See What I See, Barclay Square. So $21 you could do a lot worse, and that's $5.90 on the tote. So someone's jumped on early, which is always a good sign.
Interesting.
And then going down a bit further, Schultze's been in good form. I'd imagine that's going to go forward. And Gentian Blue, it's not a horse that I've been betting on lately, but 3 runs in, I feel like that could be sort of ready to show something. So
yeah.
I've just got a funny feeling that it could be ready to deliver. And then down the order, Whiskey on the Hill, I think will be better at Flemington. Fret is quite interesting too. I sort of I do like that lightly raced, getting up in distance out of Frankel. I think that's got it's going to be a big player in this. So that's my sort of overview. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's right. I've gravitated to Fretter. It's sort of 54 kilos. A lot of these horses are running around with a lot more than that on their back. It's third up from a spell, which is always good, and barrier 9's okay. So that's what I'm running with. No enormous amount of confidence because it's such a bit of a raffle, the whole thing. But it could be anything. But I'm going with Fretter, and we'll see what happens.
Nice. I'm gonna do Fretter with one operator, so maybe Sportsbet, and I'll do Gentian Blue with the other, just to try and sort of get bonus bets back. And then I'll do some sort of Quinella or trifecta around Let's Be Frank Baby number 1, Tycoon Beck number 5, Gentian Blue number 13, Big Story number 14, just because I like the name. It's at barrier 6, 2 runs in. I think that'll run well soon. It might not be on Saturday, but I'll put it in because I just wouldn't want to miss out. And 16 Fredder, so that's 1, 5, 13, 14, 16.
I've heard of Royal Hard Hat before. I can't remember where it was, whether it was in WA or whether it was here. That it sort of rings a bell, that horse, but I can't take them all, so I'm sticking with Fretter.
But you mentioned it just in case.
Mentioning it just in case.
Just in case, okay. Well, it's out of Helmet and Royal Reset, so can see where they were going with that name. So that's race 3.
I just wanted to see if I could butt in here quickly. In the race book that I've got from 76, the Norban Robinson Stakes meeting, a good track, on the 20th of November, they've got an ad for Corio, the Mature Australian, which is a Corio old whisky. And I just wanted to read this. Australian whisky was born in 1866. As Australia matured, so did our whisky, and today's Corio 5-star old whisky is the true descendant of an early pioneer. With more than 100 years' experience behind it, no wonder Corio is known as the Mature Australian. Now, I don't like whiskey, but I just thought I'd throw that in for a bit of information.
Nice. And does that whiskey still exist in Australia?
I've never seen it. I've never drunk it. The fact that whiskey started in 1866, I'm thinking of a beer that was brought out by Crest, I think it was, and it was the Colonial Ale, And I know that my uncle used to drink that quite often. That's something that no one ever hears of anymore because they went out of business, I suppose.
Colonial Ale. Well.
I think it was the 1770 Colonial Ale made by Courage.
Is that a brewery, Courage?
It was a brewery, yeah. I think that they may have had Crest, or Crest could have been something else. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw all that in, and just as a little something extra.
Well, that's good. We like these memories. Memory lane. So, race 4, the Q Clean handicap over 2,000 metres. Van der Klee's never really liked Caulfield. Neither have Duke de Cesar or Young Werder, so I'm sort of putting a line through those. Rolls will lead. That's probably the only thing that we know. Herman Hess has been placed here and has a good second up record at 150 to 1, which should be kept in mind. I quite like Gear Up. It's got a decent first up record, barrier 6. I feel like that'll be a good performer initially, and I don't mind OK to Sushi. I feel like that could be ready to perform. Alder was also fitting the right profile, two runs in from a spell, getting up to the right distance range. So that's it's again not one of my favourite races for the day. Certainly interesting. I'll be having something on Gear Up, something on OK to Sushi, something on Alder, and then Quinellas and trifectas around Gear Up, number 4, OK to Sushi, number 6, Herman Hess, number 9, at massive odds of 150 to 1.
Incredible.
Alder at 5s, number 11, and Aramco, number 12 at $4. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've identified Aramco as the one that I'm running with. It is the favourite, which I don't necessarily like betting on favourites, but
Yes.
It's low in the weights, 54 kilos, and it's very, very consistent, 7 placings from 11 starts. And look, barrier 8's okay. That's what I'm running with. Damien Lane's a great jockey. It's got all its little things here on the sports bet. Proven winner, striking distance, likes it dry, ready to fire. Whether it's going to be dry or not's another thing, because they are talking about rain today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, but it's just a matter of how much rain, I suppose.
Yeah, I always assume that they account for that with the watering that they do. So if it is going to sort of have a few showers, I'll just water it a bit less. It's probably good at the moment and just subject to some downgrading potentially.
Yeah, but it's not heavy showers or anything, consistent rain. So I think it should be good. It'd be a jolly good meeting to go out to, Al. It's a pity you're doing something else.
Yes, I'll be working tomorrow on Saturday, but I would have loved to have gone to this. It's a really good meeting, but that being said, I could go out and lose, and then it might not be as enjoyable.
Well, that's right. So I'm just running with Aramco
number 12,
and that's what I'm doing.
Right. Okay, so getting into the race 5, Vale Black Caviar, 1100 metres, Group 3. This is really good. Chain of Lightning I followed for a long time and then just went off it as soon as it started winning at 20 to 1, including winning Group 1s out of nowhere. So that's an unfortunate sort of memory. I'm a huge rat for Marble 9 in normal circumstances, but this is a very tough field. So it'd be cool if it ran in the top 3 and could add some spice to exotics, but I probably won't be taking it each way. I would be imagining that Kalos will go back from barrier 2 and that Chain of Lightning and Arkansas are going to be sort of the main contenders. There's a lot of speed. Acromantula, Chain of Lightning, Recommendation are probably all going to go forward. I wonder where from barrier 2 Kalos, if it's sort of back on the fence, whether it will get the cleanest of runs. I think it's a really high-class horse that will be suited to sit back off whatever the speed is. Arkansas Kid was really good last start, but I feel like that was really well placed in that race, and it's sort of stepping up a little bit today. That being said, I do like Kalos, maybe Chain of Lightning, but I'll be boxing Kalos 1, Chain of Lightning 3, Arkansas Kid 4, and Marble 9, 7 in some Quinellas and trifectas.
What about the virtual even money favourite Recommendation, Al, with Blake Shin on board?
I'm not as keen. I feel like it'll be racing against some tougher hombres this time out, and then it'll get sort of caught probably in a bit of a speed battle from barrier 7, and I'm just not as keen at those odds.
Could very much depend on the bias and what's happening, whether it's a leader's track or run on or on speed. It's even money's a bit tough for me to digest. So I've taken the bottom weight, Marble 9, 16 to 1. Distance, it's good in the going. It likes the track. So it's a small bet, $5, and that's what I'm doing at 16 to 1, Marble 9.
You're going for it. Well, that's interesting. For a second, I thought you might have been going recommendation because you'd heard me omit it, but you're actually going for the outsider.
Too short recommendation, and 16 to 1 appeals to me a great deal. Benny Allen on board. It's distance going, the track. That's what I'm running with.
Nice. Okay, so race 6, the McNeil Stakes, 1,200 metres, Group 3. This is one of my favourite races of the day. I think it's really competitive and really even. I'll throw to you to sort of break into this race and kick us off and see what your thoughts are.
Well, unfortunately, Al, this is the race that I'd identified as Tropicus to be the one that I was going to run with, and now it's been scratched. And I didn't like the fact that there was 2 short-priced favourites running in it, and it's a small field. No, I'm not going to have a bet in this. I'm just going to let them run around and have a little bit of a break, an interval of some sort, and just let it be.
So you said you had the 10, that's fair enough. You said you had the 10 $5 bet. So if you have a scratching in this race, where are you compensating with the other $5 bet?
I could look at Sydney and having a $5 bet up there. I might, when you're having a bit of a chit chat, just have a quick look at Sydney and see.
There's no pressure. We'll put this in the bet sheet at the end, so I don't feel like you have to come up with something on the spot. But I was just intrigued as to what you were. The numbers didn't quite add up, so I was just interested.
Look, I could go with something that's not one of these favourites.
It's all right. We'll come back to that. So this race, my thoughts on it were that Growing Empire is a seriously good horse, and it's won those previous 2 races. It's led, and it's had tough runs in the lead. It's had to sort of be involved in speed battles. It's had to cross from wider barriers, and it's won well both times, kicking away. The concern that I have is that it's going to have to do it again in a really high quality race like this from barrier 8. It's going to cross and lead, and there'll be other horses up there fighting with it. I just don't think the $2.40 is as good a horse as it probably is, and I just don't think that's value. And also the Adelaide form often doesn't stack up over here. So I actually thought this was going to be about 10 to 1, but now that it's $2.40, I won't be on it. What I would say is that Astapor has a lot of speed and will go up. Feroce is good value. It's probably better over the 1,200 metres. That's at 20 to 1.
Wow.
So I feel like that's gone under the radar a little bit. I also really like Tropicus. Was probably my pick before it got scratched. So that's a bit of a shame. The thing that really got me about that was that in that race where it ran, did it win or did it run second? It was one of the recent ones. It made up so much ground, and not many other horses did. It sort of made up all that ground in the middle of the track, and it just stood out to me as a wow. It was doing what a lot of other ones weren't. So shame we won't see that tomorrow, but that's okay. Yaldi is also a seriously good horse.
Is it really?
It's I think started off in New Zealand, then came over here, but it's a seriously tough sort of on pacer. So, and there's other ones like Wonder Boy was quite good last start and sort of just went under the radar against the bias. So $9 there. Let's Face the Music. I just put a line through. I didn't really like the form, but I mean, that's also in the market. And then Stay Focused. It's been running in those group runs from last prep, and then it's first up this time. Barrier 2, pretty perfect. Band of Brothers was even really good last time. I don't know exactly what how the form will stack up, but it's just such a competitive race. It's going to be great to watch. I am going to have Stay Focused each way, and then Quinellas and Trifectas around Stay Focused 3, Feroce 5, Wonder Boy 6, and now that Tropicus is out, number 9, Yaldi. So 3, 5, 6, and 9.
And Stay Focused placed in a blue diamond. Is that what I'm seeing here?
I think it was a blue diamond, 5th behind Hayasugi.
Can I change my no bet policy? And I think I'm going to put $5 on Stay Focused.
I think it's a wise choice.
I'm going to do it.
Good. Well, we're all about quick changes here and doing as you feel.
Yep.
So that's good. Getting into race 7, the Cochrane Stakes, Group 3, 1,200 metres, big field at this stage, 15 runners. Do you want to kick us off here and give us your thoughts on this one? Or do you want me to
No. Race 7, I've taken number 16. Yet again, I don't mind the bottom weights here. I've got ran on at its last start. Craig Williams aboard. 56 kilos is a reasonable weight. And number 16, I'm just running with that, and I'm hoping it can jolly well win. So it's Aureatris, and hopefully it'll be running on.
Nice. And from barrier 2, not concerned about it getting shuffled back a bit on the fence somewhere?
Look, it could, but I'm hoping Craig can guide it along nicely, swing it out wide, maybe even run through the field a bit. It's possible. That's what I'm running with. At $9.50 at the moment, it is 5th up, so it's been having a few runs.
It's only had 2 this prep though.
Has it?
Yeah, 3rd and 2nd, maybe 5 in total.
Oh yes, yeah. So 5 in total. That's it.
Oh, it's 7 in total. 3 wins, 2 placings.
Yeah.
5 placings in total. Yeah.
Hopefully, running on down the outside.
Nice. It's a really cool race. I think that probably the story here is that a lot of these are going to go back and run on. Quintessa, Road to Arataki, Skybird, Life Lessons. It was sort of, you had to go right down the order to sort of find a leader in Starlight Scope, which I don't think is up to the scope of this, but if that got a pretty untroubled lead, could easily run a place, and it's currently $12 fixed odds for a place. Danseuse Rouge will go back. Cindy Falls will probably run on. What I would say is that Expressiveness was really good last start, running that 3rd and paying $4.80 for the place. I quite liked it that day. Since there's not a lot of speed in this race, from barrier 4, that should go up and get quite a good run, probably just a little bit behind Starlight Scope. So I'm going to go with Expressiveness. It is the favourite at $4. I would have to mention Quintessa. I think will give it a real shake and run a really good race first up, although it's going to want a longer distance. That's at 13. Same for Road to Arataki, really high quality horse, 20-1. Skybird, I'm a big fan of. It's been running in such good races, running 9th behind Benedetta at Morfettville. That has to be a mention. And from barrier 15, that should actually be able to slot back and get a good run running on. I just feel like a lot of those horses are going to probably be suffering off of a slow speed. They'll all run on. They'll all sort of run good 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Danseuse Rouge is a good, always wins at good odds. So I wasn't as keen on Arviatris, but that was, it's certainly in the mix. Herbert Park's been winning on some heavy tracks. I don't know what it's going to offer on the probably good or slow track, like a slight slow track on the weekend. But yeah, I'll stick with Expressiveness, and I'll do Quinellas and Trifectas around 1, Quintessa, 2, Road to Arataki, 3, Skybird, 12, Expressiveness. I might even throw in Starlight Scope just because of the fact that it might lead, and who knows, it might hold on to a placing for a Quinella or a Trifecta. So 1, 2, 3, 10 and 12 I'll go with.
Very, very good, Al. Well, as I said, I'm just going with the one runner, number 16, and we'll see what happens. That's what I'm doing. Craig Williams aboard. Hopefully he can steer it home.
Craig will save the day. Race 8, do you want to kick us off on this?
Look, I will. I'm going number 2, Quay Tempesta. Number 2, it's at $5.50. First up, ultra consistent. Mark Zara, 59.5 kilos. That's what I'm running with, and it likes it dry. We'll see what the track's like. I think it should be okay. Yet again, a very, very bit of a raffle of a race with the 14 runners, but number 2, Quay Tempesta.
Nice. I saw that and saw the Italian form and thought, how interesting. I'm wondering if it's a horse that's in some of the replays that seem to have nice long straights to sort of be to run down and be tough into. I don't know how it will go at Caulfield, which was a bit
could be difficult,
but it'd be great if it could win. Munamek's been good previously. I feel like now that a lot of serious customers are sort of challenging, that will drop off a little bit, and maybe it's a bit better suited at Flemington. Banker's Choice always bobs up at big odds, but it's hard to predict. Jimmy the Bear, I mean, it's $5. I just feel like it's a bit short considering the sort of field this is. I want to have something on Future History because I've backed it before and I just feel like it will bob up when I least expect it. Not that there's any real particular reason why it would be on Saturday, but 40-1 I feel is quite interesting. King Magnus I want to highlight because it's been so consistent lately and it really likes Caulfield and it's paying 18 fixed and it's paying 220 on the tote. So someone's had some money on it early. I think that is sort of suited in this race. It's not there's a lot of horses resuming. It's sort of a race that could really be seized by a horse like that who's rock hard fit, has had a lot of runs, barrier 3. Sort of, I think the planets are lining up there. Showmanship's still 5 from 5 on good tracks, so it'll be interesting if it is good how that goes. St. George, I love the name. First up, the international form is really good, so I'll be having something on that at 15-1. And Don't Doubt Dory at 80-1 is actually quite good value. It's first up 7 starts for 3 wins and a placing. It has run well at Caulfield before. I know it wants a longer distance, but I will keep an eye on that. Rise at Dawn, I think, as a favourite, is primed to lose. I think it's coming up against some bigger spring contenders, and it's been up for a long time. Could be one of those horses that just keeps on winning and running well, sort of like a Happy Glen from back in the day that would just always win and win and win the more that it raced. Positivity, I love the name, but I just wasn't exactly sure on the form. So you're going to go Quay Tempesta.
Yep.
I'll have something each way on King Magnus and St. George. And then I'll do Quinellas and Trifectas. I'll throw in Quay Tempesta as well. So 2 Quay Tempesta, 8 Future History, 9 King Magnus, 11 St. George, 12 Don't Doubt Dory.
That St. George sounds very interesting with Jamie Carr on it. That's a very interesting runner.
It is. Getting into the feature of the day, the Memsie Stakes, needs no introduction, race 9, Group 1. It's sort of a match race in terms of the betting with Mr. Brightside and Pride of Jenny. I think it's fairly obvious Pride of Jenny will cross from 7 and lead. Mr. Brightside loves Caulfield and is really well suited. I'm more keen to go with him. I feel like he's tough and will probably come over the top. Aegon was really good last start, but it had that fast speed set by Buffalo River to run off when it ran that close up 4th when I was each way. So, as mentioned previously in the show, 16 starts on good for 1 placing. It's a crazy record. It's a crazily unsuccessful record. I don't think he'll be as effective on Saturday. Gentleman Roy will definitely go up for the lead and challenge. Pinstripe was really tough last time. I think from barrier 3, that's got a lot to offer and is really good value at 13s. Antino, I've looked at the form and I can't really place it. I can't really quantify it. So it sort of worries me at the 6-1 that it's going to run really well, but I just can't sort of get around it. So for me, it'll be something on Mr. Brightside, something on Pinstriped each way, and then probably a trifecta with those 2 to place and then the field to Rove. And yeah, I'll probably stick with that.
I think in the past, Al, I have heard you mention that you like horses that have won the same race twice. So Mr. Brightside was last year's winner, and there's every chance he's going to win again this year. He is a great class horse, and that's what I'm running with. I just think he's the quality runner in the race. I
couldn't agree more. He's the quality runner, and I do like that where horses have won a race and then they come back for that specific race, the exact sort of day or time. That they might win a race on June 22, 2022, and then they come back for the exact same race a year later. So I do like that. Yep, I think the Hayes people will be cock-a-hoop after this race. So that takes us into the last race where admittedly this one over the 400 metres 100 grade, I just think this is such a raffle. I couldn't really distill anything out of this other than I think that Another Will is way under the odds. I think the 260 is way too short from barrier 16 with 60.5 kilos. I think this is too good a field for it to be that short. I quite like Coco Sun. I think that's a good stayer who will offer something first up. Down the order, I could sort of say the same about Lavish Empire and Snowman. I think that they will run well. It's just a very, very tricky sort of race. I'll have something each way on Coco Sun, number 3, and I'll do some sort of Quinella around Coco Sun, probably Barclay Square, number 4, so 3 and 4, and number 11, Jenny Lala, number 14, Lavish Empire, and number 16, Snowman. But really open. It'd be a great race to have the field in the quaddie and potentially be still alive if you could negotiate that. But yeah, that's my take on it. But for me, Another Will much too short. Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to say, Al, was the quaddie. I think I'll be doing my normal field into 2 runners into 1 runner, and I'm just going to pick out the 1 runner here. It could be really anything.
I don't know if it'll be the same runner that I've put $5 on Coco Sun, and I know that we're meant to be imparting knowledge and all sorts of wonderful things on this program, but every now and again you need to just do a little bit of dumb luck, and I've taken Coco Sun because of the name. I like the name of it. It's really silly and stupid, but every now and again a bit of dumb luck does help. So I've got $5 on that, and I'll be doing the quaddie field, 2 runners into 1 runner. It could be anything in this race because it is a raffle. It's a nice race. It's a big field, and your exotics will pay well, whatever they might be. So Coco for me, Al, in the last, with Blake Shin aboard as well too.
We're both doing Coco here, so a bit of a high five, I think, needs to
Oh,
happen.
yes. Let's see. Coco, can he bring home the chocolates?
That would be great. I think I'll be doing, if I do a quaddie, it'll be a bit of a reverse thing. I'll do the field in that last leg. Mm-hmm. Then I'll probably have just Brightside and Pinstriped in the third. And then I'll probably go a bit wider in the second leg. And then the first leg, I'll try and narrow it down to maybe Expressive Just and a couple of outsiders. That'll probably be my play.
Well, that's a very good idea. In fact, now that you've said that, I think I'll go field, Mr. Brightside, maybe into 2 runners in the last. And I might make Coco one of them, and I'll pick out something else to throw in as well too. Maybe Jenny Lala, because my wife's name's Jenny.
That's what better reason.
Exactly.
So that'll all be in the bet sheet at the end. So that wraps up Caulfield. I haven't even looked at Sydney this week. I think that this meeting was so good, it'll be enough to diversify my funds there. Getting quickly across to the sports betting for this week. So there's obviously no AFL. So in its place, there's a great promo on the NRL on the Thursday night, Melbourne Storm versus North Queensland Cowboys. So if that bet loses, you get bonus bets back. So that suits me just fine. So I've picked out Murray Talorgi is an anytime try scorer. I think he either scored in 2 or 3 of the last 5, so he wasn't prolific. But I feel like this could be a game for him, where the Cowboys are sort of big $1.25 favourites. So Talorgi, anytime try scorer. I've got Melbourne Storm with a 22.5 point head start because they're $4 outsiders normally, and then I've got Valentine Holmes to score 8 or more points. But full disclosure, I really don't know anything about NRL, so this is again one of those just playing for luck, playing for, if nothing else, we'll get the bonus bets back. So that's great. So that's me. And the odds are around about $2.50. So getting back $51.
Well,
sorry. The odds are $3. Oh, no, that is right. Yeah. Around $51. Yeah.
$51 for your outlay of?
20.
20, that's right. Well, normally I'd be betting on the football with the multi on the Friday night, because myself and my wife both love being on the couch together, watching the footy with a hot water bottle or 2 each, and possibly a little glass of beer or red wine next to us as we're watching it all. But on this occasion, no footy. We've swung over to the NRL, which we know absolutely nothing about. I'll try and coerce my wife into doing something just for the hell of it. I've done $20 for the Cowboys to win at a short price, Holmes to score a try, and Felt to score a try. I don't know these people from a bar of soap. I've got odds of $3.75, and I'm really just taking the favourites, hoping that it gives me some result back again. And nothing against the NRL, but I don't know much about it. I do love the footy, and I can't wait for the finals next week.
It's quite a comprehensive wrap-up and an idyllic picture that you've painted of life at home. So, yes, I agree that the AFL coming back will be great. And, sorry, the odds I got here were mistaken. So it's actually $3.40 odds, and the $20 bet will get back $68.
Fantastic.
So that wraps it up for this week. Good luck for your betting out there. It's a fantastic meeting at Caulfield. I hope you can get out to it. So we'll post the bets on screen. They'll be with Martin's $50 worth on the racing, my $50 worth on the racing, both of our $20 bets on the NRL on Thursday. And we will see what, with your first foray into betting, what your returns will be like this week. And then any bonus bets that you accrue can go towards your next appearance on the show.
We love our bonus bets, Al, I must say.
Yes. Without them, I certainly wouldn't be making the profits that I am so far.
The inroads to your profits. Do you tell the listeners what your profits are at this point in time? Have you got a running total?
I did that at the start of the show, if you recall.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we're all about accountability on the Odds Betting podcast, so that's what it's all about. So thank you for being on the Father's Day edition of this show and sharing your stories of yesteryear.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And getting back to my grandmother again, who took me out to the races the first time ever, when she was a young girl and lived out at Ascot Vale, where it was very near the Flemington Racecourse, as you know, and Moonee Valley Racecourse. She, as a young girl, used to play in the grandstand of the Moonee Valley Racecourse with her friend Hiskin, who was from that racing Hiskin Cox sort of background, and that's where she's playing with her dolls in the grandstand at the Moonee Valley Racecourse. So that's what she was up to.
What could be better?
Exactly.
Well, that does it for this week. We'll be back next week and we'll give a thorough rundown of how this has all gone. But good betting, and stay tuned. The QR code's on the screen, so check us out on Instagram. There'll be clips of each of the race breakdowns, and the full episode will be up on YouTube. So have a wonderful betting weekend, and we'll see you next week.
You're doing a bang-up job, Al.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
And then came Sweet Liaison as they turned for home. Jefferson, he's been in front every inch of the way. He's out like two.